Welcome back to the Perspective Podcast, episode 2.
Ooh.
Today we're going to be discussing all things to do with mental fortitude, how to build resilience, and how to draw life lessons from hard things that you've gone through. We're also going to be talking about some life lessons that we've drawn from some difficult things we've done by choice, like running, the gym, just that kind of field. And we're excited to take you along the journey with us. I think the main thing is really how we both got started
Yeah.
in that kind of story,
Hmm.
right? As a 15-year-old kid, I would get literal anxiety and fear at the thought of something like a run. And to all my teachers in school to do with fitness, I became notorious as that kid who would skip every single PE class, gym class, whatever you want to call it. Anything to do with fitness, I always had a doctor's note for some form of injury. We actually had a doctor that would sign all our notes because I was just absolutely terrified.
Yeah.
I think that primarily stemmed because I wasn't comfortable with my body and my body image. I was embarrassed of the way I looked and my fitness capability.
Hmm.
So instead of trying to get better and pursuing a path of greatness, it was easier for me to sit on the sideline, do absolutely nothing for an hour, than tackle the fear of being seen as an unfit kid.
Right.
And so one day we had cross country in school. And at this point, my PE teacher caught on. PE just stands for physical education. I don't know where you're watching this in the world, but he started to catch on to the whole story. And he came up to me and he was like, Jibs, you can't skip the cross country tomorrow. He really cared for me so deeply, and it wasn't because he wanted to be mean. He wanted to see me get better. And he said, whether you walk this, or you run this, or you jog this, or you barrel roll the whole way through, you're going to be at the start line and you're going to finish the race. So naturally, I come home and I tell mom that I'm skipping school tomorrow because I'm not doing this.
I don't know why I feel like such a bad
No, you were a great parent. Thank you so much for not having to make me do those kind of things. And so mom says to me, this is the good parent part, don't
Right.
worry.
Okay, there we go.
Mom turns around and she's like, Jibs, why don't we try hypnosis? Because mom is a qualified hypnotist, not like the pocket watch type.
Like master hypnotist.
Master
Yeah.
hypnotist. Ooh, sounds fancy. But she said, why don't we try hypnosis? Mom has gotten people to successfully quit smoking in the past, other bad habits, implement new good habits.
Hmm.
And so I was extremely skeptical. My heart was literally beating out of my chest.
And I don't think people understand you're saying this story.
Yeah.
You were 25 kilos overweight.
That's something important to keep in mind.
Yeah.
I didn't look the way I do now.
Hmm.
I was 25 kg above the current weight I am. And so the literal thought of running, I can't emphasize this enough, would give me physical anxiety. It's not something I was shy from, something I didn't like. A lot of people just don't like running.
Hmm.
I had a fear of a running phobia, a run phobia. I would get actual anxiety thinking of running a singular meter.
Hmm.
And so I'm extremely skeptical about this hypnosis. And that night, I'm going to bed, and mom comes and she sits by my side. And it was a very simple meditation that she did with me. What she essentially made me do is picture someone who runs that I really respect in both their running journey and their life.
Hmm.
I, at the time, picked Lewis Hamilton, the Formula One driver, and this is when he was running all the time, every and anywhere. And she made me picture the entire cross-country course in
Hmm.
my head. We did a physical run. The meditation took the length of the run.
Right.
So we went through step by step from the start line, how the teacher would say go, the start of the stopwatch, picturing all the other kids around me. And I would start running with Lewis Hamilton imaginarily by my side. I pictured the whole thing, the conversations we had, the support he was giving me, how we were kind of buddied up running together. And so I went to sleep feeling incredible. I went to sleep for the first time in my life, excited to run the next day. I mean, when I showed up at school, the teacher was so confused at why I was excited to. First, he wasn't expecting me to show up. He actually, I remember, said, "Oh, you're here," because he was just expecting me to skip the day. And so we get on the start line. I am itching to get going. And I just remember thinking throughout the whole process, who is this? What is happening? How am I excited to run? Because it was so out of my character. Mind you, I haven't done a physical education class for the past 2 to 3 months, and all of a sudden I'm buzzing at the start line. It didn't make any sense. And so my heart's beating thinking about it. But, they do the clapper, the race gets going. And I remember being, for the first time, disappointed that day that we weren't running longer. And so you're going from this really chubby, chunky kid
Yeah.
who is so embarrassed of the way he looks, his physical capabilities, literally despises what he sees in the mirror, to now being so excited to run, wanting to do his best, is upset that the run was only 3 kilometers instead of 5, because the night before, when we practiced, we did 5 kilometers. And so I end up going, I complete the whole thing, and I am just electric afterwards. And that was only part of how I started running. That is literally how I started. It is all thanks to mom, her hypnosis, and me willing to work with my subconscious mind. And then the second part of how this habit continued is 2 things. One, mom would run a minimum of 3 kilometers a day or every gym session without fail. So since I was growing up, I've always seen mom being active, and it was really, really inspiring. And the second part that helped was I read Atomic Habits, which basically explained that if you want to form a new habit, it can't be habit formation. You have to make it part of your identity. So I just started thinking to myself, saying to mom, saying to everyone, I'm a runner. That simple, plain and simple. I didn't think it would work. I was very skeptical, but I think I managed to subconsciously convince myself that I was a runner.
You aligned it into your body.
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And so from that point on, Gibran Bank became a runner. And I never looked back. Every time I started running for the first couple of runs, I needed Lewis Hamilton by my side. And then I think energetically, I kind of outgrew that. He served his purpose, and I no longer needed an imaginary character with me to run. I didn't need someone's energy supporting me. All of a sudden, I could do it by myself. And that's kind of how I got started. But it's just important to note, I was never a runner. I was never this kid who from a young age was doing track and field and was so into it. And no, I had literal anxiety from running, turned runner.
And I think a lot of people end up thinking it's too late to start. And you're a great example because of what you just said. A lot of people think I have to be born this artist, or I'm born playing the piano, or I'm born being fit. But I think it doesn't matter whatever age you are right now listening to this. It's what you want to do badly enough to want to do it and to just begin.
Yeah.
And I think it's just never too
I think that
late.
is perfectly said.
Yeah.
I think it's important to note there is no age limit. And I think the Perspective podcast is the perfect example for that.
Yeah.
Because you started your running journey quite a while ago.
Yeah.
You did incredible feats. To put a literal example to what you just said, there's no age limit.
Yeah.
And if we fast forward to a half marathon that we recently ran, which is such a huge achievement for us.
Yeah.
We did it in one of the toughest periods of our lives. We are a testament that you don't need an age limit. You had you completing it at 39. I completed it at 20 into 21. That you literally, there's no age limit.
And I think the biggest lesson from that is you underestimate how powerful you make your mind against you, because your body will run, your body will move, your body's ready to do what your mind tells it.
Right.
And your mind has been conditioned to protect you and say, just stop, and to keep you safe and keep you comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think when you break your own mind, you flow with your body. And that's when I think you create unbelievably.
I think so. I think that makes so much sense. And I think that's where that mental resilience and mental fortitude part comes in.
Yeah.
Because whatever discipline you may follow, whether it's running, cycling, any form of sport, anything that you do that you don't want to do, you build mental fortitude. And I know that Andrew Huberman explains that there's a part of your brain that actually grows and develops when you do something that you don't want to do.
Yeah.
And it's almost weird because you kind of get into this weird psychotic place
Mm.
where you start to enjoy these hard things. So I always wondered to myself, is my brain growing because I'm doing the hard thing, but all of a sudden I love it?
Yeah.
But I just think that there is so much discipline, resilience, and mental fortitude that comes with running. And if you just take it back to the current journey that we're doing,
Mm.
Mom and I are running 160 kilometers in the month of November for men's mental health.
Yeah.
We're running a platinum month for men's mental health. And you just have to look at the discipline and resilience that we had to display.
Mm.
I got winded out for the last 2 weeks with a
Yeah.
really bad flu and fever. And for the first couple of days, I was still running.
Mm.
And those runs had nothing to do with running. It was nothing to do with physical fitness. It was all mental fortitude. I still remember the last one we did before I was forced to take a break because of my physical health. It's not about the running. It's
Mm.
about how deep you can dig, like you said, to convince your body to just keep going.
Right.
Because a
Just
lot
one
of
more.
just one more,
Yeah.
right? Go one more.
Go one more.
And I think a lot of people, including Nick Bear, who
Mm.
says go one more, say that they don't allow themselves to negotiate with themselves.
Yes.
I would love to agree with that, and maybe that's where we have different perspectives,
Yeah.
but I negotiate with myself all the time. I know
Yeah.
that everyone says that they don't negotiate with myself. If you want to be disciplined, you want to get hard things done, don't allow yourself to negotiate. I negotiate all the time.
It was tough though
Yeah,
because Jibs wanted to run in peak fever, and his perspective of the running was I've got to do hard things. I have to push my body. It doesn't matter if I'm sick. And I at some point was your body does have to heal. So
right.
at some point you do have to listen to what your body's saying
Yeah,
because if you are sick, if you've got this virus, yes, there's the medical version of you're ill. But Jibs has grown up with energy. Jibs has been the child that's grown up with Reiki, with understanding when Jibs gets sick, it'll immediately be what's going on in your body. So Jibs wants to run, and I feel his body is telling him to stop and pay attention
right,
to an emotion that is exhausted
right.
being in his body. It needs to be felt, it needs to be dealt with, it needs to be processed, and then gently allowed to move. And I love that, yes, you can run through
Yeah.
emotions because I feel that's what brings out the dopamine. That's what you cannot be depressed and do a physical activity at the same time,
Is that true
like
though? Is that
running.
scientifically, is that a thing?
I
Because I've run some runs pretty not in a great place.
I've run runs where I've got a chance to think really hard things and
Right.
I've got a chance to think difficult things,
Ah,
but
but
I
you're
cannot.
processing it.
Right, because you now have space, time, and the mental capacity to do it.
Right.
But the point I was saying was the different perspective was you wanted, I'm 21, I can do these hard things. And as a mom, there was a point where I let you do that.
Yes.
And then a point where I let you make the decision.
And that almost kicked me out of the house.
Yes, if you could, because someone was going to adopt you. And then I told them you're going to start running if you do. But, then it's the perspective of rest. Just stop, listen to your body heal, and start again.
But let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And I think this is where we have very different opinions. You just said that running and these kind of disciplines are about convincing your mind to do the thing that your body's willing to do, right? Like you just explained so beautifully that your body is willing to do these things. It's your mind that puts a mental restraint on them.
Right.
Your body could run up to 1,000 kilometers. Your mind makes it impossible. And so you have to slowly break that barrier.
Right.
But where do you find the balance between us where when I had a fever, and I've trained with the fever in the past, I've run with the fever in the past, there's a certain point where you have to do hard things irrespective of the detriment they cause purely for tomorrow. I was not doing this run with the fever in the last couple of days for the 160 kilometers of November anymore. I was doing it for next November when I'm going through something really tough. And I know because I've done this, I can dig through a certain depth, pull this out of my toolkit, and get whatever I need to do done. And it's kind of like that concept that David Goggins talks about with the cookie jar. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Where you kind of have to do hard things, and every hard thing you do bakes a cookie. And so on these tough days, When you can't do the hard thing, you reach into your cookie jar, remember who the F you are, and get it done.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to my question.
Right. Please ask it because I have an answer for you.
How do you balance, and where does the balance come between convincing your body and convincing your mind to do these hard things, and then listening to your body and mind to not do them?
Oh, so did you just answer it?
What?
Because you listened to your body. Your
Oh,
body
right.
was telling you it's physically not okay and it needed you to pay attention. This wasn't a normal circumstance of, I don't want to run, I don't want to put my sneakers on, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, let's go do something hard. This was a situation where your body physically is telling you to rest. And I think that is now where it's not about the mind. You don't need the mind there. You need to process what's going on in the body. So then you align with the mind and you heal everything together to get back out there healthier mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Right. On the contrary,
Ugh.
I just feel like doing some of these hard things, running with a fever, training with a fever, running with an injury, yes, it's not great for your physical health. I don't recommend you do that at all. But I was going to say this in another podcast. In terms of fitness, this is the most valuable advice that can ever come out of my mouth, ever. The number one key to excelling your fitness and getting better is doing hard things. That is it.
I agree.
There is a certain level of stupidity that is necessary, because the secret, the most valuable tip, is that in your initial stages of your fitness, you kind of have to build this foundation, this mental barrier, and it helps you get through things far later in life. And if you're looking to excel your fitness, is that the first couple months of whatever fitness you're doing has nothing to do with physical fitness. The first couple months of fitness are to do with building mental fortitude and mental resilience. And that is it. When I first started training and I was 25 kilos heavier, I didn't do things to see what the scale will have the best outcome on. I did things to push myself to uncomfortable limits, do hard things purely for today, right? I think a lot of people will start to want to better themselves and look at, what can I do so I can get lighter on the scale? What can I do so I can get more jacked? Initially, nothing. Initially, contrary to what you may think, I believe you have to run in the rain. I believe you have to get a bit sick. I believe you have to do back-to-back workouts with 4 hours of sleep. And that is purely because you are building a level of mental fortitude and resilience that is beyond physical fitness. And that's why this episode ties in together. So that when you do have hard days of physical fitness, you've already done difficult things enough to pull yourself back. And you can reach into a backpack and know that because I did that 3 a.m. run in the rain, contrary to what people thought was best for my health, I know I can get through this 5K run. I know I can push these weights up right now. I know I can do an extra rep, even though I really don't think I can. So that's my personal opinion, my personal perspective.
I love it. And I do believe it's bringing everything in together, because I believe at some point we now know how important sleep is.
Yes.
So I feel at some point it's do hard things, not at the cost of burning out, to
Right.
keep doing harder things.
Right. And I think finding that kind of flow.
Yeah. Balance.
I think you're 100% right. I think it's all about listening to yourself while not listening to yourself. And I think it's being the perfect balance of stupid and not stupid.
Yeah.
So you don't injure yourself.
You got to be delusional to
Yeah.
do things other people are not doing.
Right.
And
I mean, the
believe in
number
that.
one thing, I still remember, we finished a run when we're trying to do this 160 kilometers in the month of November. I had a very high fever, and Mom was like, Jibs, I really think you should rest, Jibs. And she was just coming from a place of care.
As a
And
mother who carried him in my stomach for 9 months. So it's not really a joy to have to go on runs with him where he's sweating and he's not in a great mood and he needs to be on a sofa. And I'm not there being like, you go do this run, son. No, I'm there like, please, my little baby, just on the couch for 2 days and then we'll run all of it together.
I still remember I came.
What did you do?
I came to mom, and she was just spewing so much love and care, and I shook her. I
Well,
physically,
lovingly.
yeah,
You put his hands on my
I put my
shoulders.
hands on my shoulders and I said, Mom, all I need right now is a positive reinforcement and is confidence that I can do what I'm trying to do. And I think that's something in terms of a mother-son dynamic that is difficult to do.
Yes.
Through this divorce that you're going through,
Mm.
there have been moments where I, as hard as it's been, have had to step on the sideline, understand that contrary to my instinct,
Mm.
I shouldn't protect you. I need to let you do this thing,
With the fever.
yeah, with your fever so that you can kind of benefit. And I think something that has helped our relationship be the way it is, as close as it is, and having mom as my best friend is there are parts where mom knows
Mm.
that she has to just support me.
And respect your boundary.
Precisely. And it's like when we were doing these runs, in certain other instances,
Mm.
there were times where mom was just full mom bear. Full instinct is to protect me, which it would be.
Yeah.
And she has to learn to put herself aside from the situation. Let me either get hurt a little bit so I can learn, or let me get hurt enough so that I can pull out my own muscles.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And I had to do the same thing through this divorce in the last couple of years.
Mm.
Initially,
I
all I
catch up
wanted
to
to
you
do.
eventually. It's really weird because Jules always gives me advice and he'd be like, Mom, I think XYZ. And now I feel I'm more in a place of like a conversation we had day before yesterday.
Yeah.
Was your brain broken where I was like, I agree with you?
Yes. Because I think.
Because I take a little longer to
Right.
get to where Gibran is, but then when I get there,
Yeah.
that's it. And I think that's the beautiful dance
Yeah.
because it's the same thing with Gibran. You know, like I feel like this terrible mom where I hear all his friends saying, Gibran, why are you running? You should rest. And I'm thinking, I said it. I swear, guys, I know I'm running with him, but you know.
I just think it's interesting though, because especially with romantic relationships or any relationships that are close to you, whether it be friendships,
Mm.
a boss, a parent, whatever it might be, if you're going through a tough time, people on the outside, your good friends, your good family will typically see things that are in your best interest earlier than
Yeah.
you do. But in the same breath, as that friend, parent, whoever, you have to be mature enough to let that person go through their own journey. You have to be able
And
to
by their
step aside.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to be able to step out of their way and step to their side. And instead of trying to protect them, you're kind of just by their side unconditionally. You know, like, hey, you might be making the wrong decision right now, but that's okay. I'm here to support you.
Yeah.
And that happened while we were going through this
But
divorce
you
a
know,
couple of
I
times.
don't even want to interrupt you, Jibs, but I cannot say more what it takes to be a safe supporter because you can have a lot of people watching you go through a really hard time and then get frustrated, angry, and say, I told you so, or pull away. I think Gibran taught me that I could, as silly as it sounds, because I'm human and I'm lifing for the first time too. I don't have all the answers just because I'm a mom and a parent.
Yeah.
But Gibran taught me.
Contrary to what I think.
Right. I still know everything.
Mom was like super
What
mom
you're
in my head. Yeah.
But Jibs consistently taught me that, Mom, this is my opinion. And if you'll go ahead and follow your heart and still try to make the marriage work or do whatever you need it to do, when it doesn't work out, I had the safety, I think 700 times, to come right back to position A, back to Jibs, and just be broken, be confused, be upset. Never hear I told you so. Put his hands around me, be the safest space. And I think genuinely for the first time, that's when I learned true safety and unconditional love.
Right.
Regardless of the mistakes you will make. Gibran was stellar in just being there. But was that exhausting, Jiz?
You know, it came with a lot of grit and it came with a lot of consciousness. And it was never like that. Initially, someone you love, like how much I love mom, your first instinct is you don't want to see someone like that go through pain,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And when I can see you go through pain on a daily basis, it quite literally breaks me. So what's my first instinct? Jump in front, fully protect,
yeah.
right? And so it was very hard to go from someone who is just protecting you because I don't want to see you get hurt
Mm,
to understand that you need to go through this yourself.
mm,
Otherwise, you won't realize it. And I think it kind of is the same thing. And this is why it links back into physical fitness, right?
mm,
You can't lose weight for someone else. And I think that's what a lot of people
yeah.
don't understand. You can't lose weight for someone else. You can't force someone to eat better. You can't force
Mm,
someone
to
to
work
work
out.
out. You can't force someone to wake up early and go train or go train late at night. All you can do is support them once the will comes from them. And I think a lot of parents and kids don't understand
Mm,
that when you try and protect someone, you don't allow them to willingly want to protect themselves. Because if you're being protected, if I'm holding a shield for you, you have no need to hold a shield.
right.
But if you willingly want to hold a shield and now it's starting to get damaged and I come in and I support you,
Mm,
that's very different. And so, same thing with physical fitness, working with someone who wants to lose weight and then you're supporting them, then they take your advice. Then they listen to you about nutrition. Then they listen to you about physical health.
but it's also because you're showing up being fit. You're
Right.
showing up still in your journey,
Yeah.
aligned to whatever it is you're doing.
Right.
So then eventually, when I'm ready to get on track and be fitter
Yeah.
or lose the weight, I'm just aligning because you're a beautiful inspiration.
Right.
And I'm not getting advice from somebody that's not living
What they're preaching.
right. You
But
walk your talk.
the point that I was making is that you kind of can support someone who's willing to do something. And I think that's what allows mom and I to be so close and has allowed our relationship to strengthen, blossom, and bloom in the recent last couple of years is just understanding. As hard as it may instinctively be, sometimes you need to step out of the way and to the side.
Right. And it's interesting having this conversation because a lot of parents, I feel, do end up thinking that you have to be strong, you have to be the most perfect role model. You cannot break down in front of your children. They can never see you as a human being,
Mm,
confused, lost, uncertain, scared, terrified, and experiencing a part of your life for the first time, too. And while I think, yes, with a certain age, there's a way to handle that, I still think it's so important
mm,
that children grow up just seeing their parents being so human and have all these emotions, but the grit and the ability to teach your children that I can break, I can fall, but I can learn to get up. And maybe getting up sometimes is not just standing up, it's rolling over, it's trying to figure out how to be able to get up. And your
right,
children are watching you being so human. And it's allowing them the room to be human too, to not be so perfect, to also fail, to also make mistakes because, hey, mom or dad did it and they're standing back up. So
stronger.
even if I feel right now I'm making mistakes and I'm not so strong, I have a beautiful image of where I can get or eventually what that could look like.
Right.
So I think it's just the ability sometimes to drop all these
These
roles
facades.
and learn from each other.
Yeah.
Because I feel I learn unbelievably from Gibran.
And I learned from you too. I mean, just take it back to the start of the
Unbelievably.
podcast. I would never be running if it wasn't for mom. If I didn't have an example in my life that is constantly pushing themselves despite of the challenges that they're going through, I would never have that. But you can also take that lesson and mirror it a different way. And this isn't only for parents and kids, it's
Right.
for any relationship in your
Yeah.
life. When you see someone who is undestructible, suddenly when you're being destroyed, you have no reference of strength to pull from. Because I have seen mom or dad never go through anything. Now that I'm
Mm,
going through something, what do I do?
right.
And so I think as a leader and role model and figure, there is a certain level of strength you have to have where you can't show to the other person.
And
But in
this
the
being,
same
yeah,
breath, there is also a level of vulnerability you have to have,
right.
because something you and I went through this year or in the last 2 years.
It's gonna say, take it back. Take it back, son. But Jibs, it's also the role is for men.
Right.
For men in leadership roles, or just for men to also start understanding, please break down. And then it's for women, mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, to be able to not say you're weak, but to be there and not be like, oh, we want you to cry. And then when you cry, we're like, oh, don't cry and be strong.
Mm,
But it's also for men to be lost and openly lost, and men to be confused, and to raise a generation of young boys and adults that can feel,
right.
right?
Yeah, and that
And
that have that emotional capacity to break down and then build themselves up stronger with an emotional support system. But I do think that there is a double standard for men, because I think
mm,
in the same breath, and it's something that I experienced in the last couple of years, while a lot of women say, please cry, please be vulnerable, please be broken,
mm,
the second you are, there is also part of a double standard that comes in and is
what do you
like,
mean?
at the same breath, while it's very much be broken, be vulnerable, be okay,
Mm.
or be the way you are, as soon as you are, there is this almost feeling like you're less than.
But does that come from you, or does that come from the way someone's making you
I think
feel?
that comes from the way someone's making you feel, and that kind of helps you evaluate.
But can they only not make you feel something because it exists in you?
Wait, that's an uncomfortable smile.
Because
It's
nobody
because you're
can make
right.
you feel anything that isn't already
Within you?
right.
Yeah, I fully agree.
So that's why I think
Whoa.
men grow up with an
I just had a
expectation.
breakthrough. You just formed a new synapse in my brain. I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, because I think men grow up with an expectation to perform and
Yeah.
provide. And in order to do that, you can't do it while you feel. Or maybe you didn't grow up watching your father feel. And that's why I think like the generation's changing
Well, I mean, what do you think
completely.
of this statement? Okay.
Right.
If I were to make this statement, what's your thought based off the experience we've gone through?
Okay.
Being falsely strong for someone creates an invisible barrier that disconnects connectivity,
Completely.
right? Because in the
Completely.
last 2 years, this happened in two places. When I went to London, mom decided to be super mom, not show Jibs anything, not show how broken or bad things were at home.
That came for anyone listening from feeling like at some point, wait, should I be talking to my child? Should my child be seeing me so broken? Should my child be helping me? How is it that my child is opening up my eyes to a relationship? And am I parentifying him? And all these things I started to read, where I started to feel, no, maybe he should just not know what I'm going through.
Hmm.
He should just be in university now. He should not be exposed to my pain.
But how do you
And I
balance
should
that?
be strong enough to not talk to you. I
How do you
think,
balance that between a parent or a figure? Because this isn't just for parents and kids. How do you balance being strong for someone while also being so vulnerable?
can I be really honest, Jibs? I don't think I had it in me to be strong. I was not strong at that point. Strong and strength, those words changed for me at that
In what
point in my
way?
life, where I thought I was being strong by keeping a family and a marriage together, only to learn
Yeah,
that I wasn't strong enough for myself to be able to see what I was doing was not right for me, for you, for the situation. So strong changed for me.
right.
And it changed because of you.
In what way?
You brought a different perspective into my life about the life I was living, the way I was holding a marriage together, how I had completely self abandoned myself. And you brought the perspective into my life about my life.
Right.
I'm talking to you now because I wasn't vulnerably sharing with anybody else.
Hmm.
And so where is that balance? I feel It's a hard one, and that's the truth, because if you were 13
Mm.
or if you were 11 or 8, I'm not talking to you about what I'm going through. I'm not, and you never did, would walk into a room and see me crying when I am, because that's probably happening just in the toilet, in the shower, and then I'm coming down to make you pancakes and the
Right.
best breakfast, and I'm playing hide and seek when you come home from
Right.
school. It's different to you are now at a really cognitive age
Mm.
where you're aware of the silence, you're aware of the pause
The
in my
tension,
reaction, the
you
tension.
can feel it now.
So, where's the balance? I think it's in being real. I think in not confusing our kids sometimes that a situation is fine when it's not, because then they're growing up thinking that what's not normal is normal. And that's why we then end up getting into these relationships, because at home, what I thought love
Mm.
was tension, was not discussing things, was not being human, was crying behind closed doors I didn't know. And so then I go get into these relationships that have to pull out a different version of me. And
To
kids
try
think
heal that.
you think that's love.
I mean, to go
It's a
on
hard
a
one, Jibs, because
I think it's
I
very
carry guilt.
situational to see. I mean, mom would ask me all the time, Jibs, am I doing the wrong thing by opening up to you, by talking to you, by leaning on you for support? And I
Right.
would say two things. One, it truly depends on the person's emotional intelligence. I think
Okay.
it's very situational, right? You could have
Mm.
a 25-year-old kid, you could have a partner, but if it's completely situational on emotional maturity, emotional intelligence.
But you were talking about what it did when I wasn't.
Yeah.
When I cut you out and I went into perfect mom mode,
Yeah.
what happened?
Right. I think
You went to London.
this is the point I was going to make
Yeah.
initially.
Mm.
When you, and this is a personal opinion I have, I think whether it be a parent, a close friend, and I say close because it's not any friend, it is someone that you can truly confide and trust in, a partner, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, fiance, whatever it may be, I think being so open, honest, and vulnerable is critical to the health of that relationship. I will give you two different examples. One is with a best friend, and one is with mom.
Mm.
Mom decided to be super mom when I went to London. She decided that I was going through so much with school, with adapting, new friends, new this, new life, that I'm going to make home seem like it's perfect. Initially, I believed her because we had only always been so open and honest with each other that when she said, hey, all of a sudden everything back here is really good, I was like, oh, cool. And the first time I came home, you guys played perfect family.
Mm.
But what that ended up doing was causing this invisible barrier between the relationship. And this is what happens in other relationships, spouses,
Mm.
friendships. You can't see the barrier. But when you're not open and honest, you do create this natural void between each other.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of relationships suffer with. And so, with a best friend of mine, with a couple of them, there was this point initially where they're going through something incredibly tough. I'm going through something incredibly tough. And for the longest time, I didn't open up.
Mm.
And I could just see there's this distance that grows between us, even though on paper, we're still the same
Yeah.
closeness. We still talk the same amount of times a day. The conversations are still light and friendly, but there's suddenly you just can't connect to this person.
Mm.
And it's because they're keeping something from
And you're
you.
not being authentic.
Precisely. So when mom stopped telling me what was going on, when she stopped being honest, our relationship suffered. All of a sudden, our calls on the phone were like so bleak,
Yeah.
so, like I'm talking to not my mom, not my best friend. They were just so to the point, so short. And this is because on the other side, mom has just finished crying. She's
Mm.
picking up the phone. She's doing everything to, hey, Jibs, how's your day? How's uni? How's this class? How are your friends? And then in the flip side, I did that when I went to Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, mom was being completely open and honest with me, and I was shying away.
Yeah.
LA was one of the hardest times of my life to date, and mom had zero idea what I was going through. I still remember when I came back home and I sat down with her on the couch.
No, we were walking.
Were we walking?
We were walking and you
Oh,
told
yeah,
me.
we were walking.
Yeah.
And we were walking late at night.
Yeah.
And I finally opened up to mom. And I remember her shock because I had hit it so well. But in that process, again, there was this disconnect
Yeah.
that is just unexplainable. And I think it's something that you can look at and kind of have some introspection with your current relationships,
Mm,
friendships, parentships,
anything.
and just see if there is this little disconnect where you can't relate to each other either anymore or you never have been. Are you being too strong?
Mm.
Are you being too put together?
Where are you operating out of not being authentic?
Yeah, because I think Simon Sinek said something beautiful.
Hmm.
He said, true trust is built in broken moments.
Oof.
That's actually my quote, but to paraphrase what he said, true trust is built in broken moments when you can let your hair down, when you can tell this other person, hey, I'm not okay.
Mm.
And then they're reciprocally there for you. That's when actual trust is built. Hey, mom,
Right.
I'm not okay. I'm going through XYZ.
Mm.
And you can just hold space for it, be there for me. And so with my best friends, it's something we went through.
Mm.
The first time, with new friendships, you have firsts for everything. So the
Mhm.
first time we're going through our own life problems,
Mm.
when you're friends, you only have this great friendship all the time, right? When you're together, it's always picture perfect.
Mm.
And so when you finally talk to each other and you're like, hey, I know I seem really okay, but this is what's going on.
Mm.
Every single time. Not once did it cause more of a shift. And I think if you're in a relationship, and I say relationship, that doesn't mean romantic, any relationship, including a
Yeah.
romantic one, where all of a sudden you do open up, you are more vulnerable, and there's a gap that is formed,
Mm.
the disconnect grows. If you are open, honest, and vulnerable with someone else, and all of a sudden you can't connect,
Mm.
I think that tells you something about your relationship,
Right.
right? Not about you, that
Mm.
is then about your relationship. And I think that's something you have to reevaluate.
Right.
Is this friend really as there for me as they say they are?
Yeah.
Is my partner really as there for me as they say they are? Or are they just there in the good times and suddenly when I'm going through a hard time?
Then you're inconvenient in their life. Or
Precisely.
you can make some people uncomfortable because they've never grown up with emotion. They don't know how to relate to you with
Mm,
emotion. They don't know how to meet you where you're at because they cannot meet themselves where they're at,
right.
right? So sometimes it's, I think, being real and I think being so authentic with your emotion and unapologetic about where you are in your life. I
Yeah.
think we need to build more people in communities that can say, I'm not okay, but I still have to get up and do a million things. But
Yeah.
then I think it's also giving grace to people you never thought would be in your life and show up for you to be
Yeah.
there for you.
Yeah.
And you would have this expectation that maybe my childhood friends or other people would do more for me.
Or
When
provide more support.
yeah, and they're nowhere to be seen.
Yeah.
And it's the
And they
people
know what you're going through.
right, and
Yeah.
they miss your messages.
Or all of a sudden, they're still checking in, but to the I checked in on you point,
Right.
right? So that you can say, but I called, but I messaged, I
Mm,
asked, how are you?
mm,
But it's not authentic and sincere.
mm.
And I do think that if you lack connection in a relationship, try be more open, honest, and vulnerable. And if that causes a disconnect, then you have something to reevaluate.
Right.
But if we kind of bring it back to the running and the fitness journey,
Mm.
how does that link up? Because I think, how did this fitness journey support you while you were going through all these things? And do you think you would have been able to go through the last couple of years the same way without having a physical outlet?
Absolutely not. I think
What would life look like if you didn't have a physical outlet?
I would hate my body, so I would hate myself because I think if I was not moving and I was not active, then I would succumb to the sweet tooth that I have or the comfort I have in wanting to look for the perfect cookie or the perfect cake.
Yeah,
And then
or
I
both.
think, or both
Yeah,
with ice cream on the side. We've been there. But then I think at the same time, there's a love for yourself, I think, when you physically move. And I think there's a love and a respect you have for the body that you have, because I know I've gone through this entire hard journey
Yeah.
being physically active. And I think when I would get into gym, get on the treadmill, that was a space I thought the most. So I would process thoughts, or thoughts came freely when I was running, because there
Right.
was nothing else you could do. You cannot escape almost
Yeah.
being on the treadmill or being on a track. And now suddenly you are so present to your thoughts. There's nothing else you can do
Right.
when you have a long run in front of you,
Yeah.
except to just be like, what am I thinking? Where am I thinking? And there's a little distraction of people around you,
Some music.
some music, the lyrics, but you always come back to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that movement saved me, because when I started working, I didn't realize, oh, it releases dopamine and serotonin, and I sort of have this oxytocin and good feel hormone inside of me.
Right.
I didn't realize that every time I went into that space, I recollected myself. I came back home into my soul, my center. I would go do something for me that I loved. And I think it would break
Right.
the sad feelings that you're going through, because you cannot feel sad when hormones are being released in your body because you're moving. Even if it's
So
a walk, a run, lifting weights, you feel different when you physically walk out of a gym. You can walk into, I think, any physical environment, Pilates, yoga,
right.
and be down and be depressed, and you don't want to be there.
Right.
But when you're done with it,
You feel, even if it's 5% better.
I'm going back tomorrow.
And I think something important to note, and this just comes from personal experience, is that if you're listening to this right now and you are going through the depths of a mental health crisis,
Mm.
it is also so okay and important that you aren't physically healthy and
Yes.
active.
Mm.
At the lowest points of low in the last couple of years, last year, last couple of months, there were points. It wasn't up to me, right? Because I
You're
think when you go
yeah.
through mental health issues, when you suffer with mental health, there's a point where it's exterior. You
Yeah.
can want to go to the gym, you can want to go for something as simple as a walk,
Mm.
and you can't. And that is okay, because life comes in waves. They are
Mm.
seasons. If you are not at your peak physical fitness right now, if you are going through the worst that you have ever gone through and you can't get up and go to the gym, that is completely fine.
Mm.
You know, I think it took a lot for me to realize that, hey, I'm really down right now. I'd be able to perform the way you usually do because you're going through things that you don't usually go through. And so when you're suffering with mental health, the rules kind of completely change,
Yeah.
right?
And you know what? They really do.
Hmm.
I think on this side of life, you can end up, it's so funny. I actually did a video 3 nights ago in the dark, so I can't post it. But I recorded something because I realized, you know what? When you are down and you are depressed and you are low, that is where you are. You are down. And I realized that in my down, I was not meditating like I am every night.
Yeah.
I was not journaling every single day. I was not eating the best that I was. I was
That
not
is an
running.
understatement. We were eating
Yeah.
horribly,
And we were like, okay, so we don't drink and smoke and party and do weird things.
so we could do
So,
sugar.
right. And that's what we did. KFC in the
Yeah.
car, sharing a meal in silence was a comfort. And we understood what it meant. When we would have crazy hard days,
Mm.
I'd turn around and be like, do you feel like KFC? And we both understood,
What that meant.
because that was the tiniest shed of light in the darkest moment we were going through. And I think sometimes you always get advice from, the broke person, but you're getting advice when they're the billionaire, when
Yes.
they've opened the company.
Yeah.
You are in the trenches, you're down,
Yeah.
but you're not going in the flow of someone building that up. You're
Yeah.
not seeing somebody put content out where they're down, they're depressed because of shame, because you're scared about people judging you. But that's the thing, is like, I feel when you're down, and your nervous system, you've got to work with it.
Mm,
Because I think there are times that your routine was to go lift weights or to go run and do hard things, but your nervous system says, I'm shutting down, and I need to shut down to protect you, to
yeah.
save you, so that you can feel pain, process pain, so that we can move again at some point. And I think so sometimes it's learning that if I have to break a routine,
Yeah.
and it's going for a walk instead of a run, it's
Or
going for a
it's just
stroll,
getting out of bed instead of going for a walk.
go sit in the sun.
Yeah.
Go sit in the sun and do nothing.
Yeah.
But I think it's being so true to what down is,
Mm.
because we've just come out of that,
I think down is so relative though,
and
you
so
know?
powerful,
Yeah,
but
I
it
think
doesn't feel like that in
it's
that
just,
moment.
if I'm being completely honest, there were so many moments when I was down, and
Mm,
I think that is an understatement,
yeah.
where I would think to myself, and these are big names in this motivational industry. I would
Mm.
just think this is complete BS. You're giving me all this advice when you're healed, when you can record your podcast,
When you're a billionaire.
when you can record your video, when you're up and you've forgotten how to be relatable. Because the truth is, some of these things that I hear online, you know, 5-second rule or this,
Mm.
or if you're super depressed, just go for a walk. I don't think
You want to
people under
stick the middle
yes,
finger out at
and
that
be like,
person.
I'm struggling to brush my teeth right
You
now.
don't get it.
Yeah. Or I'm struggling to reach over to get my charger cord because I've been in bed the whole day and my phone is dying. You're telling me to go for a walk? You're telling me to go get some fresh air? You're telling me to just go for a run? It's not that simple. I'm
Mm.
in a very different headspace from you are. And I think there was this disconnect where all of a sudden I couldn't relate to these influencers. I couldn't
Mm.
relate to these motivational people. And so I actually built my own philosophies. And I
Mm.
remember I read them out to you. And these are in my journal. These were things and systems that I had to create for myself.
What were, like, could you share some of them?
I think, honestly, that deserves a podcast on its own,
Okay.
where there are these philosophies.
Give them one. Because he's someone who's probably down, who's saying, okay, give me one. Give me one philosophy that's,
I think something powerful that I learned through experience is that life operates in waves.
mm,
And it hit me when I was going through this really tough time and I was listening to the song Waves. And it was just like, it comes and
mm,
goes in waves. It always does. And that's
mm.
when it hit me that, hey, I'm so down right now. It's temporary. I think when you are so down, and if you've only been there or you are there, you'll be able to relate to this. There is so much pressure, at least I had so much pressure on myself to be up in this grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And I would feel like the world is on me because I'm down. And when I kind of took the pressure off by realizing that I'm not down,
Mm.
I'm down for
Nah,
now,
yeah. I love that.
it will get better. And when it gets better, it will get worse. And what that does is it gives you enough hope to get out of the bottom of the wave, but put enough reality in perspective for you and give you a reality check that it's going to go back down.
Mm.
So the philosophy that I created was that life operates in waves.
Mm.
When you're down, just understand that it's not forever. It truly is temporary. It may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, it may be three, it may be 3 years.
Yeah.
But it's very most likely shorter than the amount of time you think in your head. And so when you're in the bottom, realize that there is a top coming. I know that can sound so hard,
The
but it's
sunrises.
only because I went through ups and downs, I realized, hey, it's ups and downs. When you're in the peaks, you have to build tools to help you in the troughs. You have to work with yourself.
Mm.
When you're in your peaks, it's not like, hey, I'm doing better. I've had a really good week or I've had a really good day. I must be healing. No,
Yeah.
it's in those moments when you have 3% extra energy that you have to go out there, listen to the right podcast, do that run, go for that one workout, go to the gym and drive back home.
Keep filling the bank.
Keep filling the bank. When you're down, realize it's not forever. And when you're up, prepare to go down again.
Mm.
And I think that truly helped me so much. Just understanding that this pain, this feeling, this depression, whatever it was, isn't forever. It's probably just for another week or two. And then I'll have a good day.
Yeah.
And understanding that there is a good day, there is a good moment, there is a good couple of hours, a good few minutes coming your way can really help you dig a lot deeper, because then all of a sudden you're not getting geared up to go through this forever,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
You're just getting geared up to go through it for a little bit. And I think if you even bring back running into it,
Yeah.
it's like when you look at these guys doing ultra marathons, right? Mom and I watched this backyard ultra documentary
Mm.
where there is no finish line. At the start of every hour, and it's hosted by BPN, you start running until no one else runs, and it's a last man standing ultra.
Right.
And I think that that's what you have to realize. Mental health is not. There is a finish line,
Yeah.
you know?
Mm.
There is a point you can put down the backpack. You may have to pick it up again. It may suck, but there will be a point you can put it down. You can have a little sip of water, you can
Yeah.
have a banana,
Change your socks.
change your socks, and then keep going.
Yeah.
So I think there's a whole podcast that can come from philosophies that I built, because I really do think they are tools that people can use, purely because all this other conventional social media 2-minute rule, 5-minute rule, 30-second rule, all the gurus that are spitting out advice weren't relatable to me anymore. And so I had to build my own systems.
Mm.
And I remember I had never been so down in my life and so comfortable with myself,
Mm.
knowing that no matter what I go through, I will always have God and I'll
Yes.
have myself,
Mm.
right? Those two things bring
'Cause
on any challenge.
no one's coming to save you.
Yeah.
No one will ever come fix you, and nobody is coming to save you. And I think I relate to Jibs so much because there was a point, remember I told you when we were in Dubai, and I said, I physically cannot listen to Tony Robbins. I'm
Absolutely.
so low, my nervous system felt raw to the touch. Like if you put a feather on me, I would jump. That's how I felt. I was beat down, I was bruised, and I felt I can't do the just one more and get up, and I couldn't listen to it. And I remember telling Gibran that I feel I'm in a place in my life I had to completely surrender to what was crumbling and understand that whatever was falling, there was going to be a shelter for me, which was God, that would make sure that whatever had to crumble was going to crumble around me. And my relief was truly turning completely to God. And we both did that.
Yeah.
We went into a lot more prayer, a lot more sincere
I think
prayer,
just full submission.
full submission, and listening to things like, maybe for you it's like the biblical songs, or for us it was Quran. And I feel for me, it when I was completely low, what I would do was I would play one verse, which was Surah Yasin, and I found somebody on YouTube that recited it in a way that didn't make me go, but it recited it beautifully.
Right.
And when I would put that on, the person I found was doing it in 21 minutes. And that meant that was my healing time. So I would sit on my prayer mat, press play, because I couldn't do motivation, but I could do surrender.
Whoa,
And in
that is very
surrender,
powerful.
I would listen and cry and connect and know that there's somebody above me greater that feeds the little ant or is feeding something under the ocean I have no idea about.
Right.
And here I am. I'm in his face. I'm in God's face. And if he's brought me to this point, then the only person that's going to give me the strength to get out of it is God. But I felt I had to connect with myself and trust his flow, his timing, what he wanted of me. And I would find it inside. And I think
Right.
that's when you realize you have the strength inside you all the time.
Right.
And the confusion, the conflict we go through as human beings is we think the strength is in our minds. And I think that when you operate out of your mind, you're completely disconnected from who you are. And the scariest part is to surrender into your heart,
Right.
because your heart has the truth. your heart has the grace, and your heart has the ability to deal with pain and suffering and transform it into a lesson when you are ready to go through that long enough.
Right.
And so
And
for
you kind of
me,
stop operating out of your head.
completely. And that's what I always teach Jibs. Like
Yeah.
when Jibs also gets stuck with certain things, your
Which
mind is
happens
designed,
frequently.
right,
Yeah.
to protect you. Your mind is designed to fight to keep you safe, but your heart is always going to give you the truth. And it gives you the truth even for the other person that's probably caused you pain. And sometimes you want to be the victim. Sometimes you need somebody to be the villain in your pain, in your story. But when you go back into your heart, you can understand nobody's the villain, you're never the victim. Both truths always will come together, but then you get the choice to not have to always be a part of somebody's wounds that will consistently ooze onto you. And in that, I'm also saying when we are part of somebody's wounds and they are bleeding on you, it's very much because there's a part of you that feels you deserve that. There's a
Oof.
part of
Wait, I think
you.
you need a pause after that. That is incredibly powerful.
Yeah,
That is incredibly powerful. Wow. That that truly puts a lot in perspective. Wow.
because that's part of radical responsibility and stepping out of being a victim is it was like a situation that I went through day before yesterday. And it was so hard because
Mm.
I had to sit and meet my ex to have such a tough conversation. And after 3.5 hours, when I left that situation and I came home, first of all, my nervous system was so shaken. But secondly, I
I
ended up
mean, it was so
realizing,
shaken that you physically threw up.
right,
So,
it had to just come out somewhere.
yeah, I think, yeah.
But, the lesson I learned was I there was a part of me that you say that you've gotta have self-respect and you deserve better, but then why didn't I leave earlier,
Mm.
right? Why didn't I get up and say, "I'm not willing to tolerate this
Or this
conversation
behavior.
or this," because there was another part of me that still got triggered and in that environment felt, "Oh, this is the norm," or my nervous system went back into a conditioning
Right.
it's lived in for such a long time.
Mm.
And it and that's why I feel your environment sometimes you don't realize can keep you surviving
Yeah.
and keep you stunted and keep you in pain a lot longer than you need to until you recognize that
That you're worthy of more.
right and you are part of that dynamic until you are
Wow.
willing
That
to be
is,
strong enough to walk away from a dynamic. And when I also stepped away from this marriage, I turned around to Jabran, I think like a month ago, and I said to Jibs, I wonder what part of my inner child has healed
mm,
that no longer needed to be in that environment anymore. I wonder what part of me inside finally felt I deserved more and self abandonment was not going to be okay.
I don't know why that's your realization, but it's making me take a deep breath. I feel like that's lifted something off me.
Really?
But I mean, I kind of want to go back to that point of surrender
Mm,
because I truly think that in another weird philosophy way, if you're struggling with something and you're going through something really difficult,
mm,
there's a certain power in surrender. It's not even a certain power, it is a power that you can't even imagine.
let go.
And whether that's submitting and surrendering to a higher power like
Mm,
God, or whether you're unreligious and it's just some bigger faith,
yeah,
or your environment. If you're unreligious, there is a power in just submitting to your environment, embracing the dysfunctionality, you could almost
yeah.
say. Because when you submit to a higher power, when you know that there is a higher life form like God, the universe, whatever it may be for
Energy.
you,
Yeah.
you almost become grateful for being in the situation that you're in. And I think that is what we experienced. There was
Mm,
a certain point where we were going through such a tough time, and I think I need to readopt this own advice that I'm spewing out
mm,
right now. There was a point we went through such a hard time, but because we had submitted so unconditionally to God, you're almost grateful for the challenge he's putting you through because you understand that it's intentional and it comes with love.
You have faith, yet you're just humanly stressed and worried.
Yeah.
There's a difference. You have absolute faith that you will be taken out of where you are when you learn the lesson.
Mm.
But in that moment, it doesn't mean if you're stressed, confused, or hurt that you don't have faith. And we learned that.
Yeah.
We're in a dark time. We have faith. God wants us here. We
Right.
have faith. We know that He's given us the brain to make the right decisions. Akal, remember, we were
Yeah.
told that's your brain. Use it. Don't always just think, God wants me here. If I'm in a hard place,
Yeah.
it's because God put me here.
Yeah.
You have
I think
the
initially that's
intelligence.
what it was, right? It was
Yeah.
like, why are we going through this difficulty?
What does God want
Yeah,
us?
why is God wanting us to be in this situation? But then it's only after you get out of it, you realize that you wouldn't be the person you are now, are going to be, would be without those set of challenges. And I think a lot of people need to learn the incongruence
Mm,
between being so sure that this time will end and still being so broken and uncertain. The incongruence between complete certainty and complete uncertainty and
yes.
living in moments between both simultaneously. It is so okay to not know what is happening right now and also know that everything will be okay. And I think that a lot of people have this disconnect that if I don't have faith that this time will end,
Mm,
then I can't be worried right now.
mm.
You can 100% be worried, stressed, broken, bruised, battered.
Or not know how you'll get out of it.
Right. It is, that's another good point. It is so okay to know, I don't know how to get out of this, but I will get out of it.
Right.
And that makes so much sense and so little sense at the same time. But one thing that carried me through and I expressed to you so much, and I think we both went through this, is knowing we'll get out of this situation,
Right.
but not knowing how to get out.
Mm,
And that is also incredibly, painfully frustrating. You feel like you're in this glass jail, this invisible jail, where you feel so helpless, so powerless
mm.
to know that everything will be okay. You will get through it. You'll be okay. You'll
But
get better.
when?
But when, how, what? Like, it is so, it pulls with your emotions.
Mm,
And so I think it is okay to not be okay. And a little point, something I realized through all of this is the power of cliche advice. Because
mm.
until you go through a situation that warrants the cliche advice, you think nothing much of it. Like something simple that I'm saying, it's so okay to not be okay. When I would hear that before, I'd be like, okay, please stop talking. Thank you very
Right.
much. And then when you go through it, it is suddenly the most deep and profound advice you ever receive. And it's like when someone says, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade.
Yeah.
It doesn't even enter your ears until you go through a situation where you need to make lemonade with lemons. And then it's the most pivotal, important, powerful advice you've ever heard in your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that also stems down to that if you're going through a hard time, you don't need complicated lessons.
Mm.
If you're going through a hard time, you don't need complicated solutions. You can find strength and solutions in the most basic and simple things around you through your day. And I think knowing that any suffering or pain that you could go through is temporary just puts this form of relief. For us, it only came from God. You can only have that
Yeah.
certainty because you believe in a higher power. For you, it might be the universe, energy, whatever it may be.
But I also feel sincerely that you truly have to be comfortable with getting uncomfortable with your life, the truth about your life, your ability to face discomfort and uncomfortable truths, and then taking your time to digest what you have to digest and then work your way out of it. There's no other way around it but to sit in the discomfort and to feel it. Because I feel when you don't, then it does manifest in the flu, in the sore throat, in being
Mm,
sick. Because at some point your body is exhausted carrying all these little trapped emotions in these little bags and putting it in the different places.
right.
And that's why I would feel when I would sit and listen to a prayer, that would be when I would cry the most or thoughts would come out, and I would have these 21 minutes in a day to almost take everything out to God and feel. But then there would be a relief after that because I've cried it out, I have felt it out. And then I have some clarity to be able to now think about my next step, or sometimes just be numb. It's okay to be numb, to not have a left or right, a way out, all the answers.
How did you
Sometimes
come
it's
to that
okay.
conclusion, though?
What?
How did you come to that conclusion? What experiences did it take? How much not being okay did it take to understand that it's okay to not be okay?
I think, first of all, there's a voice that we ignore, and there's an intuition we do not listen to. And I think there's a standard we all have for our lives in our relationships or wealth, fitness, wherever. And I think at some point you get exhausted going against your intuition. You get exhausted lowering your standards, and you just get exhausted not being happy. I was tired not being happy, and I was
If I
tired
can
trying.
interrupt you quickly,
Yeah,
were you tired of not being happy, or were you tired of trying to be happy while you're not happy?
I was tired of trying to be happy when I'm not happy. I was tired of looking for happiness
Hmm.
in moments that were not giving me happiness just so I could feel that I am happy
So
or
what
the
would you
situation
what
is
would you tell
okay.
someone who thinks that they need to be strong, they need to be tough in everything that they're going through? They can't be open with other people, not because they can't be seen as weak, but because they need to be strong for other people. And so they just end up living their lives toxically positive,
Mm,
which is very different from gratefully positive. What would you tell someone like that? What would you tell someone who is listening to this right now and just saying, you have no idea what you're talking about? I can't be open and vulnerable. I need to be tough. If I'm not tough, I won't get through what I'm going.
I would turn around and say you'd be surprised when you break how much further you can get than thinking you need to be put together and accomplishing the very little that you do. Because I think there's a complete difference when you you come back into your heart and your soul.
Right.
And I think there's a difference with finding yourself. I think there's a difference with falling in love with yourself while you're a mess and having the courage to face
Yeah.
your decisions and having the courage to face your mess and not wanting to fix it or not wanting to make it be okay immediately, because I feel that comes on its own.
What?
The okay, the lessons,
Mm.
I feel I have so many lessons that I need to figure out that didn't just flood me the minute I left that environment or left that house and moved into a new place with Gibran.
Right.
I felt I went through a period of just being numb,
Yeah.
unbelievably physically exhausted.
Arguably, you're still in those places now,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
I think the quote that I kind of came up with, it wasn't some cool thing that I thought. It
Mm,
came from a lot of personal experience, which was first we must break
mm,
to be unbreakable, right?
yeah.
The quote is that we're not broken, but first we must break to become unbreakable.
Mm,
And I think that gives you a certain level of peace in putting your bags down, addressing that your ankle is broken, addressing you have a cut somewhere, needing some help because you understand that philosophy like a phoenix, you know, you gotta first burn
mm,
to become that new version of yourself.
mm,
And I think that for anyone out there who doesn't think it's okay to be emotionally vulnerable, and this being said, it's a journey. It's not,
yeah.
you're not going to finish listening to this right now,
And open
watch
up.
this clip on TikTok and just open up. It's understanding that it takes time. The way I, adopted that philosophy, came up with that quote was learning from the eagle,
Mm,
right?
mm.
The eagle, at a certain point of its life, I think everyone knows
After
this
40.
story, after 40, it either dies or it goes to the top of a mountain and it unplucks every feather, breaks its beak, removes its talons so that it can grow to a new, strong version of itself
But how does it do it?
by breaking.
On its own,
Right,
alone.
right. It's a very individual journey, but I think that's the part, right? Because if you're very skeptical on being emotionally vulnerable or letting down your bags, is the ego weak when it's going to the top of the mountain, or does it know that first it must break to be unbreakable?
Right.
Because even though you might be thinking, I'm going to be so weak, everyone's going to see me, I can't let people know what I'm going through, that's okay. But in the same breath, when that ego is going through that process, it knows it has to have enough humility, put its ego aside to be able to become the strongest version of
Mm,
itself ever.
right.
So it is completely okay to not be okay.
And to start again, to
Yeah.
shed, to
And I
pull out
think,
your beak and your talons, and I feel that's what I'm doing at
yeah,
39,
I'm kind of doing that too, to
at
some
21.
extent. And I think if you're worried about what other people in your life will think, if you're worried about anything of the sort, Simon Sinek again taught such a beautiful lesson.
Hmm.
He said when he was going through some of the most difficult times of his life, and people would ask him how he is, he would just be honest.
Yeah.
And if you want to filter the people in your life, follow that philosophy. And of course, this is not with everyone. You're not going to meet someone on the street or a coworker and they're like, hey, how's your day going? You're like, I'm completely broken, shattered, emotionally destroyed. I'm in the worst place ever. But what it does is with your close friends, with your partner, with your spouse, with your parents,
Yourself.
your loved ones, when someone asks you how you're doing, if you want to kind of filter who's there for you and who's not, just be honest.
Mm.
And you'll see some people will naturally be like, oh, whoa, how are
Uncomfortable.
you? I'm not okay. I've had a really tough day. And some people will lean in, be there for you, be that support that you need. Others will be like, wait, 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 what's going on? Pull back slowly. And you'll kind of also get a gist of who's there for you.
Yeah.
And all of that stems from being vulnerable. Being able to build that beautiful support system is by being broken.
Mm.
And I think that is something that is very underrated, you
And
know?
I think that's Jibs was going through a really hard phase, and that's when he chose to do the marathon. And Jibs was like, I'm gonna run. He decided to run in July, and he put out a post that says, I'm gonna do a half marathon before the end of the year.
Yeah.
But he didn't know that there was gonna be the Stan Chart one. He just put the energy out there.
I think what's important to mention on a very quick side note is how perfectly the universe lined up for this half marathon.
Yeah.
What happened is I was going through such a tough time. So I sat by myself. I said that I'm going to run a half marathon by the end of the year. I want to
Why? Why
achieve
did you?
I wanted to achieve something cool by the time I was going to 21.
Mm.
And I couldn't think of a better way to do that than running 21 kilometers for 21. So what I did is I sat down, I sat aside, and I said, I'm going to run a half marathon. I went on the Nike Run Club app and it said 14-week training plan. So I, before going on the internet, just mapped out um, 14 weeks, which happened to perfectly line up with the week of my birthday. And I said, I'm going to probably run it on the Sunday right before my birthday because I'll need some free time. Then I go and out of interest, see if there are races available.
Mm.
And the marathon that we ran happened to be on the same day that I provisionally planned to run one anyway.
Yeah.
I was running on that day, and then there happened to be the year's biggest marathon. It all lined up so perfectly. The training plan happened to be perfectly lined up from the day I'm starting to the race day.
Mm.
There happens to be a race on my race day.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was just so perfect.
Yeah.
And so that journey was very interesting
Mm.
because typically I think you would think that you're going through so much, why put yourself through more?
Mm.
But I knew that I needed that outlet. I needed that win. And that's why I signed up for the half marathon. And then I think mom
Didn't want to be left out. That's it. That is purely the truth.
Mom, yeah, I couldn't be better than mom because mom and I compete quite a bit.
Because we're siblings.
Yeah, so we're very competitive. And mom was like, wait a minute, I can't let you be a badass running this half marathon or what? I'm just standing there on the
Yeah,
side.
because for a week, Jibs was training, coming in, and he's like, I need to stretch, and my diet has to change, and now,
I need to
like,
fill my
next week,
glycogen
yeah,
stores.
and I'm doing 8K next week, and oh, wow, look at me, I've run 15 kilometers this week, and I'm there, like, with a potato chip in my mouth, feeling like a potato chip in my life. And I'm thinking, nah, you don't get to be better than me in this hard time. So I'm gonna like, how hard can this be?
But I think in terms of physical strength, there's also power and accountability partners.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't have someone in your life that was pushing themselves,
Mm.
you would have never pushed
Nope.
yourself. And I think,
Power of environment and the people in your life
yeah,
that you surround yourself
yeah,
with.
100%.
Yeah.
Because mom said something so powerful
Tell
when
me.
it came to running this half marathon. And she said, Jibs, for the first time in my life, I'm picking the pain I'm about to go through. I'm picking the heart I'm about to go through. And I think that's why we're running now,
Mm.
you know, because we are choosing our heart. Life may throw hard at us, but we're also picking our own heart. And so if I'm going through the hard that I'm choosing to do, you best believe I'm going through the hard that life is choosing for me.
Absolutely.
And so it's kind of like when you can be harder than you're hard, when you can be
Mm.
tougher than the tough, then all of a sudden you can do it. And there's this one guided run on the Nike Run Club app. We are not sponsored by them at all, but I will forever
Yeah.
attest to the power of that app. I truly think that is another very huge contributing factor as to
Mm.
why I can run. Nike Run Club just made it so easy to run.
We trained with guided runs, which
Yeah.
also shows you why it's okay to need help.
Yes.
It's okay for
Oh,
every single
I couldn't
run
have
to
done
need
this
a
half
guide.
marathon
No way.
without a
Coach
guide. Yeah,
Bennett?
in my ear. Absolutely. It's okay to lean on help.
Yeah.
You know, because you
Mm.
might be thinking, you know what, I'll just be strong and tough and everything. But then, cool, I would have never reached that kind of achievement. And so I still remember there was this one guided run where Eliud Kipchoge was on the run.
Mm.
And you never did this one.
I did it.
Did you?
Eventually I did it.
And it was so powerful because he was basically explaining, and again, we're not talking about running here, that
You sound like Coach Bennett.
don't run away from the hard run. You know, Coach Bennett asked Eliud Kipchoge, if the runner who's listening right now is going through a tough time, their form is off, they can't breathe right, all of a sudden we're only 1 kilometer in and they are struggling, how do they cope with it and how do they get over it? And Eliud turned around and said, you don't get over it, you embrace it. Make peace with the hard run. And I think that just takes so much pressure off you to have to be perfect, perform, and just kind of, again, that power, that power of submission, right? It just brings you back to that same concept of embracing the dysfunctionality and submitting to your circumstance. In this case, it's submitting to the run. And when you're going through something difficult in life, it's submitting to that. Don't run away from the hard thing. Don't run away from the pain that you're going through. Just keep running. Feel it, right?
Beautiful.
So I think it's just that kind of
Absolutely
philosophy.
beautiful.
Because
Stunning,
he
Jabon.
asked Eliud Kipchoge, if the runner is having a tough time right now, and again, we're not talking about running here, how do they get through it? How do you get through it? And
Embrace it.
Eliud said that the only reason I get through my hard runs is knowing that I've done this before so I can get through it now. And that kind of takes us back to the start of the conversation,
Right.
where I said that sometimes you have to be stupid, do hard things that may cause you detriment, because the next time you have a hard thing to do, the sheer strength of knowing that I've done this before so I can get through it again is all that you need.
Right.
A lot of the times when I've trained with the fever, when I've done something really stupid, like running multiple days and probably, impairing my health, it was just so that tomorrow, when I'm having a tough day, I know that, hey, I've done something harder, or I've done something that at that moment seemed as hard as this. It doesn't have to be harder,
Right.
but it's knowing that at that moment it seemed as hard as this is now, and I got through this now.
And I think something powerful about running, and we're not talking about running like Jib says, is when you are running long distance, even if it's just 5K, you constantly learn that you have to coach yourself. So at some point, you always have the guided run in your ear.
Right.
But at some point in the weeks to your training, he teaches you that you have everything in you after a couple of weeks of training to guide
To be your own
yourself,
coach.
right, for the next couple of kilometers. And one thing I learned all the time with running is you can run 5K, but then at your 6K, your coach will come back and remind you, how are your shoulders? How's your form? How are your elbows moving? Are you landing in the right way? Lift your chin up, bend, and you're constantly readjusting. So you
Right.
don't start a run perfect and end it perfect. You're adjusting constantly. And sometimes it's just lifting your chin.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's just leaning forward. Sometimes it's doing all of it again
Right.
to get your stride back. And that's the same thing about life. And that's why I fall in love with running. I can relate the runs to what I'm going through in life. And
In what way?
well, I relate it to every single run's different. I don't know what I will get out of any single run. I don't know if on some days my knee will give in. I don't know on some days if I'm going to have the best run and hit the best time of my life. I don't know if on some runs I'm going to start well and end well, or a blister pops up. I have no idea what any run is going to give me. The one thing I do know is that I'm present to my run. I'm present to the pain I'm physically feeling. I'm listening to my body. I'm readjusting.
Right.
I'm noticing if there's pain in my body or in my heart. I'm
Yeah.
noticing if thoughts are coming or thoughts are going.
Right.
I'm noticing how I feel. So I'm conscious and present. It's like a gift to myself to run, to
Right.
be there for myself. It's my therapy session, my coaching for myself,
Right.
my not fixing anything, but my knowing that I have to finish the run.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk this. We
Yeah.
didn't walk 21 kilometers. I'm going to run through the pain. I'm going to run through the knee
My
wanting
heart
to
rate
stop.
started racing a
Right.
bit.
But it's my journey,
Yeah.
and that's
And
why I
it's your
love the
hard.
running.
You
Right.
pick the hard.
We picked the hard, and I love, like when I didn't want to run yesterday, 15K, not after what I had been through the day before. I didn't feel my nervous system was in a place to go and do 15K. I felt my nervous system could have done 5 really
Yeah.
easy. But at some point when I was running, I turned around and said, oh my Lord, like this physical pain in my knee,
Mm.
I love this pain. This is my choice. I don't need to leave this
That is
pain
extremely profound.
the way I needed to leave that table. I have self-respect for myself running in this pain, and also knowing I'm at fault because I should have been stretching, I should have been lifting, I should have done a million things to make sure I'm not in the physical pain that I'm
Which
in.
kind of relates to in life having that
Tools.
self-respect.
What you said is tools.
Right.
The toolbox to
That you
get
can
you
reach into.
through.
The cookie jar.
Exactly. Yes.
I think that is honestly a beautiful way.
But I want you to talk about, because you know, Gibran keeps thinking that he trained for 14 weeks to get to the marathon. And I keep reminding Jibs, you probably did a solid 8 weeks
Right.
because you had to run a total of 5 days a week
Yeah.
and you had a recovery day. But Jibs wasn't running at some point all the
Yeah.
runs every week. We would
It
do
was just such a
2
tough
runs.
situation.
Right. And we still did the 21 kilometers.
Right.
And I want to know, remember I
What would
asked
you
you
like
as
to
well.
know? Tell
I
me.
want to know
Yeah.
what you walked away with from this run. I want to know what this run meant for you then, and I want to know where that run
Mm.
impacted you today.
I think for me, I can answer that question in a very simple and unsimple way. The simple way is that this run was a giant cookie in my cookie jar. I went against all the mental odds of everything I was going through in life to have to add this responsibility to run.
Mm.
And so why did I do it? Why would I logically do something that I don't need to do at a time where I could really use not doing it? It's because I knew that if I can do this half marathon in the most imperfect time where I don't have to do one, then I can get through anything ever. And it boils down to this basic concept that if you can do things when they're hard and imperfect, then you can do whatever comes your way. If you can get things done in the most unideal, difficult situation and circumstance, then in any other circumstance, you can do what's necessary. And so I guess to boil it down to a very simple statement, this half marathon was a giant cookie in my cookie jar. It was proving to myself that I am tougher than my situation. And that's why when we ran this half marathon, I said in a TikTok video I filmed a couple of weeks ago, when it got really tough, something that kept me going was looking up and realizing that everyone around me today made a decision to be stronger than their excuses.
Oof.
And so by me making a decision to be stronger than my excuses, then when life throws anything at me, I can handle whatever it is because I've already gone through something I thought I could never do at an imperfect time, at a completely difficult point in my life. So, in the most humble and unarrogant way possible, bring it. What are you going to throw in my face that I haven't willingly gone through? And so this run, this half marathon, wasn't about running at all. Yeah, it was cool. I definitely wanted the medal, but it was just a symbol to myself that in the most unideal time, I can do ideal things.
That is so powerful. That is so who raised you?
She was this
Uh-uh.
absolutely
You.
no.
You raised your inner child to be able to
Mom
sit
does
here.
this
Jibs
thing.
is reparenting
Mom,
himself.
no, I'm not.
Yes.
Mom,
You are brilliant.
and one thing that I
That
should
was
have
good.
mentioned at the start of this episode,
That was good.
I would never have run a single footstep in my life if it wasn't for Mom. If I didn't have that example
Do
in
we
front
know
of
that?
me, yeah, obviously we don't because, you can't say, but in the sense that if I didn't see a parent, someone I respected, looked up to, do this thing, I would have never wanted to, right? And it kind of stems down to that thing where, kids only grow up doing what they see.
Not what
So
they're
if
told.
yeah, they only do what they see, not what they're told. So if you are eating 5 cheeseburgers a day, not working out, having a terrible diet and lifestyle, but you tell your kid to do the opposite, they're not going to. And a
Yeah.
literal example.
Or if you stay in a relationship too long, you will teach your child
Right.
empathy without boundaries.
Oof. Yeah, I think so. And I think that is one extremely good example is what we went through
Mm.
is that mom is telling me set boundaries, set healthy boundaries with other friends, relationships in your life, but I'm not seeing it. So I don't know how to do it. And I've definitely gone through moments in my friendships where I then have to set these boundaries and everyone's better off for it.
Because I feel
But
I
it
taught
first
you,
comes with a lot of
yeah, I
discomfort.
taught you to always understand. I taught you to always compromise. I've
Right.
taught you always see the other person's perspective. I taught you make excuses for people.
Make
I
it
taught
work. Do
make
the
it,
other person's half,
but at the cost of losing yourself.
the cost
And
of
that's what,
everything.
yeah, I didn't want for Gibran.
And I think it's like one of my best friends, my brother, who's a PT, and he does, he's gym influencing kind of thing. One of his clients that he was telling me about was this mom who wanted her son to join,
Ah,
who wanted
right.
to sign up.
Yeah.
And so the mom literally told him that I need your help because I don't set good lifestyle examples. We don't eat healthy at home. I don't go to the gym, so I need you to come and teach my son those things. And so when he ended up talking to the son was just like, but I don't see these things happening.
Yeah.
Why would I want to do that?
Hmm.
So it truly is one of those things that practice what you preach in terms of parenthood because you can want the best for your kids. You can
Yeah.
want them to not tolerate bad behavior, have self-respect, go and physically exercise, whatever it may be.
Don't wait till 39.
But if you're not doing it yourself, I think exactly what you said. What did you say that kids don't do what they what they're told?
Yeah,
What
they
did you
do
say?
what they see. Kids will always do what they see,
Right.
never what they're told. And I
Right.
think, like, even when I look at the situation with Gibran, he turned around probably over a month ago on that sofa, and you turned around to me and you said, Mom, like, thank you for teaching me to never settle. Because you can. I think there are a million people that are not happy in a relationship, or you could just stay to stay and then have an individual life and not want to rely on the person you're with, or not look for love and
Mm.
not feel whole and not want that person to be your person. But I wanted that kind of a love.
Right.
And I wasn't going to settle because I'm doing it the second time.
Right.
And there was a part of me that had to fall in love with myself to not be in love with the situation I was in
Wow.
anymore. And I
That is
think
powerful.
sometimes when you fall in love with yourself, it can be scary, it can be lonely. And I also feel like even with the 21 kilometers, I don't think I felt worthy of running it. I
Why?
wasn't, because I've never lived there.
Or done something to show yourself how strong you are
Right. Or if I did, I relied on so much validation,
from
not from
anyone but
myself.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would do incredible feats. And if I got it, that is really good, I would end up feeling,
Mm.
oh, so I guess that wasn't so good. Um,
But not realizing yourself what you just did.
right.
Yeah.
And then I think the 21 kilometers for me was so intentional because I only genuinely probably trained a total of 4 weeks.
Yeah.
And then when I got on that start line, I was intentional with what I was leaving at the start
Or
line.
were you leaving at the start
I
line?
was leaving all the habits that I was not willing to commit to myself anymore. I was leaving behind the part of me that tolerated things I didn't want to. I was leaving a part of me that accepted too many excuses. I was leaving and old self. And I, not that, oh my God, I'm leaving this part of myself because by the end of the finish line, I'm going to meet this other person.
Oh,
I'm
wow.
still
Wow.
meeting me.
Right.
I'm still seeing different sides of me now, but different sides of me as I am in a new bubble.
Right.
But I knew that I had to leave a part of myself that served me,
Right.
but was not going to serve me for what I want. It's
Right.
not going to serve me for what I want to achieve now in my life.
And
It's
so
not
it's
going to,
okay to let it go.
right. And so I let a very big part of my life stand at that finish line. And it was it was amazing because Jibs and I managed to run together for the first 11
11
kilometers.
kilometers or so.
And then at some point, Jibs had a lot
It's
more
like,
in
see ya.
him,
I'm out of
and
here.
and he took off. And I was like, okay, like I got this, because
Yeah.
Jibs was my pacer for all the training, the 20 kilometers the week before. As long as I could keep a certain distance between me and my pacer, then
I
I
don't,
knew I was doing well.
yeah.
And I remember Jibs took off and I'm like, I can see him, so I'm good. But I was already in physical pain from the week before,
Mm.
and I had to stop to do my shoelace. And when I looked up,
Can see me.
I couldn't see Jibs. And all I did, I think, for the first 500 meters was search for Gibran. I'm looking for his shorts. I'm looking for his hat. I want to cry because I feel alone in this crowd of people.
Mm.
I don't think I can do this run on my own without him pacing me. And then I learned for the next 11 kilometers
Yeah.
that, you know what, Jibs and I will always run together. We are always going to run life together. But sometimes we're going to have to just split and continue in parallel. And I knew that
We're still running the same
we're still
path,
we're still
but
running the
different
same,
journeys.
right. And
I love that. That is so powerful.
I knew these 11 kilometers I thought and I allow myself to feel. And I remember running this thinking, you can't hurt me again. If I'm running in this much pain, in this heat, in this agony, alone, in this crowd of people that,
With such little preparation.
then you cannot hurt me again. And all
That
I
is
could
so
think about
powerful.
was a David Goggins, you
So
cannot
powerful.
hurt me, because it's almost like, okay, you know what? I've done 21 kilometers. Try hurt
Bring it
me.
on.
Yeah. And I know that at some point when we were turning,
Yeah.
I was now looking for Jibs on this side of the crowd.
Yeah, and I was looking for mom.
Yeah.
And we were just both scanning and
And then I saw him.
I saw mom.
And we
Got this second wind.
this energy
Yeah, out of
to
nowhere.
keep going because I was in excruciating pain. And at this point, I thought, you know what? I'm not gonna hit my 2-hour 30 mark.
Yeah, 2
It's
hour
probably
35.
I'm 3 hours in. At some point, 3 hours 15 minutes. I'm way behind time.
Right.
But I saw Jibs, and it gave me so much strength. And I pushed on that pain, and I cannot tell you the agony in my hips. They were locked. My back was locked. My knees were killing me.
It sucked.
And it is believable how you can find strength to override physical pain
Right.
to achieve what you want, because I don't want to be too far behind Gibran now. And
Kind of that second wind that comes.
right.
I think that is so beautiful. And I think that's just so profound in that we were running the same race on two different journeys.
But I
and
feel
that's
like
okay.
it was symbolic for me because I feel for the last 3 years, Jibs has held my hand. And then I feel in those 11 kilometers,
Oof.
Jibs let go.
You're going to make me emotional.
And Jibs took off. And I'm suddenly feeling like the child in the relationship and like
Yeah.
my parent just left me, but then learning I'm not alone.
But I think also something that we talked about earlier is, to clarify, leaving mom and setting out on my own pace was a very difficult, conscious decision I made. And I made it knowing that if I run with her the whole way, she'll never unlock this strength. And if I run with her the whole way, I'll never unlock the strength that I did. Because there were points where it was so hard. Yes, I ran that race gracefully, but that doesn't discount the pain I went through. And I think a really good way to kind of wrap this episode up with a life lesson that can be pulled from physical fitness is that when running these 21 kilometers 13 to 15 sucked. I'm putting that on a t-shirt somewhere. Kilometers 13 to 15 sucked. And if you're relating it to a mental health journey, if your entire journey is the span of that 21 kilometers, understanding that the pain is temporary is very important. Because at kilometer 13, I thought, and when going through life, you can think that this is now going to be the pain that's there until the end of the race. But understanding that when you're in the bottom of that wave, when you enter kilometer 13, it's only till 15, the top of the wave, it can give you so much strength.
Yeah.
And the next time I go through, whether it be a physical difficult race or an emotional one, I'll know that I'm just in my sucky kilometers 13 to 15.
Or lesson 8 in your notes.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but to wrap up this podcast like we usually do,
What's one thing you took away from the race?
what's one thing I took away from the race? To have respect for difficult things. I don't think I respected I don't think I respected the race the way it should have been respected. And that consequently led to me suffering down the road. You know, I thought, oh, I've done all this training. I'm in this cool environment. Everyone around me is running. I've got this dope backpack on.
And this
I'm going to
playlist.
push for a new personal best that I've never run before in my life. And what that made me do is lose respect for the distance and the race. And when I did those two things, I allowed not arrogance, but that arrogance to kind of make me suffer later. So I learned, whether I'm running 1 kilometer, and again, we're not talking about running here, or 100 kilometers, respect the race that you're currently running. Hold value for its entire distance. Don't downplay things because you think you're not strong enough for them or because you think you're too strong for them. Truly look at them for what they are. If you're going through something tough, don't think this is too tough for me. If you're going through something tough, don't think I'm tougher than this thing. Have respect for it, and that is the only way you can come out. I think that's what I took away.
That is unbelievably good. That has to go in your book.
I'm not writing a book.
A memoir.
What is the lesson you think you pulled away from this half marathon with?
A lesson I pulled away was what is the lesson I pulled away from this half marathon?
Again, this is one of those moments I can see 6 to 7 to 8, 9 lessons that she pulled away with, but if I help her out, then she won't realize them for herself.
Just whisper. They can't hear. No. Oh. Well, okay. I think a lesson I pulled from this marathon was I'm worthy of hard things and I can do them alone if I have to.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Whoa! Look at, who is this lady?
Just you always gas me up. Gas me up. Gas me up.
I'm so proud of you. I
Proud
think
of you.
a tradition that we're starting on this podcast is to end each episode with a quote.
Yes.
And I think with an uncomfortable question, but I think we just did the uncomfortable question.
Yes. Yeah.
Without knowing we're doing it.
Yeah.
And so I have my quote that I'm ready to leave this episode on. I don't know about
So
you.
do I.
All right, lady. I went first last time, so I'm going to let you go first.
No, just go first. I can say it in my head one more time, please.
No, I'm going to force you. You got to go first.
No, Jabron. I'm your mother. Go first.
I think the quote that I'm going to leave this episode with is incredibly powerful and profound to me because is it because of it's a good busy.
There's someone who does that. Who's that?
I don't know. Is there?
Yeah, there is someone.
I have no idea. Your
Okay.
TikTok algorithm is very different from mine. I don't know what she's talking about. But the quote that I'm going to leave this episode with is incredibly powerful and
Just don't hit your head on.
What? The quote that I'm going to leave this episode with is incredibly powerful and profound for me because until, as far as I can remember, it is the first quote I remember.
Mm.
You will know it very well. And it is, when life knocks you down, try land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up. And I think it ties in quite well
Les Brown
with this episode because you're going to get knocked down. You're going to get not only knocked down, you're going to get thrown and beaten down.
I was going to say kicked.
Yeah. But if you can look up, you can get up. And in some tough moments, that has been something I remembered. And maybe the simplicity of it kept me going. So I'm leaving this episode with, when life knocks you down, try land on your back. Because if you can look up, you can get up.
I love that.
That's mine.
I love that.
What about you?
My quote was something I told you a few weeks ago, where
Okay.
sometimes all the closure you need lays in the wounds that are within you.
Goosebumps. Actual goosebumps.
You don't need a final conversation, and you don't need to get validated or to have someone understand your pain.
Mm.
Your closure is in the wounds that need your attention. And I think if you want to live a really humbled, remarkable life, I think you need to get so deeply in touch with your heart and learn to operate from it as opposed to the protection of your mind.
I love that.
Mm.
I love that. Because I really thought you were going to say the protection of yourself, but it's the protection of your heart.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. I have loved this episode.
Me
It
too.
was awesome filming it. You can always reach us on social media, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Spotify. All handles are the Perspective Podcast GS, except Spotify, which is just the Perspective Podcast. The GS stands for Jabron and Shazman.
Yeah.
But it has been an absolute pleasure. If there are any topics you'd like to see us discussing, please write in, let us know, and we will see you in the next episode.
And
Until then,
I'd
take care.
I'd like to bring to your attention that a lot of our viewers have not been subscribing to our YouTube channel.
Mm.
Who says this?
Stephen Bartlett says
Yes. And it would just mean so much to me and the team if you could just hit that subscribe button.
Wait, why do you sound
because it
so accurately
makes
like
an
him?
absolute difference to the people we bring onto this podcast
Oh,
and how we show up.
Stephen.
Yes.
Hi, nice to meet you. Gibran.
I'm gonna flight story your podcast one day.
Oh my God, that would be so crazy.
Right?
But it's been an absolute pleasure, and we will catch you in the next one. Until then, keep winning at life, and remember that pain you're going through is just temporary. Ciao.
Bye.